Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Bold Strategy. My name is Conrad, and today we're going to talk about deck building. I apologize in advance. I've got a wicked cold right now, but it's the reason why I have time to build this video in the first place. Worked 17 hours yesterday. I just got this wicked cold. I decided to take the morning off, play some Clash, have some fun, because after all, work or life isn't all about work, right? So this video is really about the general strategies about deck building. This is level 1, the beginners, and it's really going to form the basis for the other videos that I'll be creating. I do intend to bring out a total of 3 videos on deck building. Level 1, the beginner series, level 2, experience level, and of course level 3, the pro level. And each will touch on a variety of different topics within those. But this one serves as the basic structure for the strategies behind decks. Now, I should be clear that this is not a video to tell you exactly which cards to select. This is a video to tell you the general strategies around deck building, because I'm a firm believer that that more than 80% of the battles that I've played, or 80% of the battles that I've commentated live on the YouTube channels, etc., more than 80% of those are won or lost before the game even starts because of how they've built their decks. I'm a firm believer of that. I myself haven't spent too much money in the game, but any money that I have spent, I've used for grand challenges, and I win somewhere in the neighborhood, and by win I mean 12 win the challenge. I win somewhere in the neighborhood of half of the grand challenges that I play, which has allowed me to amass 36,000 cards worth of winnings with very little money at all, which is great. And the other reason why we don't want to tell you exactly which decks, or which cards rather, to use in the deck, we want to talk about those general strategies, is really 2 reasons. Number 1, cards are being added and cards are being updated with balance changes, etc. all the time. So for me to tell you exactly which cards to use, this video would get outdated pretty quickly, like a week from now or a day from now, because of balance changes or new cards. So we really want to focus on the general strategy. And of course, the second reason why we want to do that is because people have different playing styles. And so these deck strategies are really to encompass a whole bunch of different deck playing styles. So whether you're a Hog Rider deck, or Royal Giant, or an Expo, or a Lava Hound, or a Giant Beatdown deck, or whatever, you can really build a deck that's going to suit your playing style. So we're going to keep it general in that sense. So let's go ahead and dive into an example of a deck. Now this one is a little bit more complex, but we're going to go into this one anyway just because I want to illustrate a few points. So in total, there's a few things that you want in your deck when you're first starting. So the very first card that you should be paying attention to is your kill card. What is that card that is going to do the most damage on the enemy tower to allow you to win? Because yeah, you could very easily use all 8 cards that are defensively. You'd have no winning condition. You wouldn't win. You'd draw at best. So what's that one card that's really going to help you win the game, that do that most damage? So for this deck, that is the Graveyard. So the Graveyard, we know in this deck, is going to be our win condition. We're going to try to get that card down, get as much damage down with that card as possible, and that's what we're going to try to win the game with. So you should always be able to identify at least one kill card. Try to focus specifically on one kill card. If you cannot identify one card as the card that you're going to do the most damage to the enemy towers with, you don't have a good deck. You need to build a deck that you're going to be able to identify at least one card that you can hope to get to their tower to do damage. That's the kill card. So that has to be an absolute must. Make sure you have a kill card. The second card that we like to look for is the support card. What is that card that is going to help your kill card really do its damage? Obviously, if we did a naked Graveyard, it wouldn't do very well. It could be easily countered. A tower by itself will be able to relatively handle it. It'll get some damage, but all in all, a naked Graveyard isn't going to do much. So what's really going to help a Graveyard do its worst? So we throw in the Bowler, and you could very easily throw in a Giant or a Royal Giant. Some people use Lava Hound, some people use Golems. Really, that support card is just there to draw the fire of the tower and support your Graveyard's attack. And that's why it's called a support card. Now keep in mind, a lot of these cards can have multiple roles. You can use a Graveyard defensively, of course, but if that's your win condition, you really want to try to hold that to try to win the game. Otherwise, if you're using it defensively, you might not have anything to attack the tower with. But the Bowler, for instance, It can help play a very defensive game and then convert, if it sticks around long enough, to be that support card for your graveyard. So a lot of times these cards can have multiple roles, but you want to make sure you at least have a card filling that role of support so that you can say, look, this is the cycle that I'm hoping that I can get my cards in so that Bowler can support graveyard. Of course, even while my Electro Wizard, I'm not saying is my support card, it could very easily become a support card depending on how the battle's playing out. But either way, you should be able to identify at least one support card. So we talked about one kill card and one support card. The other thing that you should have is one draw card. At least one draw card. Sometimes having two gets a little bit complex, but you want at least one draw card. So what's a draw card? Well, draw cards are the cards that can draw in any unit. So obviously a bowler or any land unit can draw in all the land units except for things like Lava Hound or Royal Giants or Giants or Hog Riders. Basically anything that's built, Battling Rams is another example, basically anything that's trying to get past all of your units to get to your towers. So a draw card, like a Tombstone, is going to draw in those units wherever you place it. So if you put it in the center of the map or out to the right, it'll follow those cards, provided you place them in the right places, and it will draw those units to those cards. It will buy you some time. So draw cards are things like, in present day, because who knows, maybe they'll add more, but it's things like Tombstones, Furnaces, Inferno Towers. Even, this is a more complex draw card, the Tornado. This really can operate like a draw card because it doesn't really matter what unit it is. It will suck it in. It will draw it in as well. Tornado is more of an experience / pro level card to use because it allows you to use it both defensively and offensively depending on which condition or which cards you're playing against. But generally speaking, you want at least one draw card to be able to handle those Hog Rider decks, etc. So one kill card, one support card, and one draw card, which is typically a building, especially if you don't know how to properly use the Tornado yet. Two things that you want then is crowd control. So these are the cards that are going to allow you, and remember there's overlap, these are the cards that are going to allow you to control large pushes. So if they do a skeleton army or any of those, or even a minion horde, or anything that's coming at you in large scale, you want to at least have a couple crowd control cards. So these are things like Zap, Log, Poison, Fireball, Rocket, even Lightning theoretically as a crowd control card. In this particular deck, you can see that I've got two crowd control decks. I've got cards rather. I've got Poison and Tornado. You generally want two. And of those, one of them should be a direct damage card. Can't tell you how many games have been won or lost because someone did not have a card that directly damaged the tower. So they get into overtime. It's all about chip damage. It's all about getting that final hit in, and they don't have the direct damage card to affect. So obviously a Tornado isn't a very good direct damage card. I'm not hitting any tower with that. But that's where the Poison comes in. So that Poison is really going to do that direct damage when and if I need it. So make sure you have at least two control cards and one direct damage card. So what else do you need? Well, you need at least two units that can hit air. Otherwise, you're going to struggle against certain deck types like Lavaloons, etc., that are coming in very air heavy. So you need at least two that are going to be in there. In this particular case, I've got the Minions and I've got the Executioner. I even threw in an extra one with the Electro Wizard, but generally speaking, you want at least two that can hit air. So what do you want? As a recap, you want one kill card, you want one support card, you need at least two units that can hit air, you need a draw card, you need two crowd control, and you need a direct damage card. So if you do all of that, you should be able to build a deck that will give you a chance to fight. And remember, you can use all sorts of different cards to make those as long as you're identifying them for their roles and their purposes. So for instance, if you say, hey, I don't have a draw card, there's likely going to be a scenario where you're going to struggle against things like Lavaloon decks or Lava Hounds or Royal Giants rather, or Hog Riders, etc. So you might already notice it in your deck that, maybe that's the way I could solve it. So we really use this deck build-up as a way of testing to see if a deck is going to be able to hold out against a lot of the different cards that are out there. So let's go ahead and look at a couple other people. Let's see what we got. Let's go ahead and pick Sultan. Let's see what he's got. That one's going to be a little bit more harder. That's more of a pro level one. Here's a good one that kind of shows the basics. So what's his kill card? My guess is his kill card here is the Goblin Barrel, right? So we talk about the kill card, in which case what's his support card? Well, the support card could be a variety of things, but my guess is he's also using the Goblin Gang as a defense card, rolls it over into a support card, and then throws his Goblin Barrel down to chip away as much as he can. This is really a chip cycle deck, which when we get into the experienced and pro levels of deck building, we'll talk about the different deck archetypes and AECs, which is average elixir cost. We'll talk about how that can influence and cause you to have some exceptions to the rules. But generally speaking, this guy follows it. He's got 2 units that can hit air, of course. He's got his draw card of the Furnace. He's got his 2 crowd controls, the Log and the Rocket. And, of course, he's got the direct damage card of the Rocket. So you can tell a lot of people, whether they recognize it or not, are already using these strategies in their decks. Here's another one, just of course at random, we're picking another one. His kill card, obviously the Expo. His support card, he's basically using logs, fire spirits, etc. Anything that can push out the units that are in front of the Expo. The 2 units that can hit air, he's of course got fire spirits and minions. He's got an Inferno Tower as his draw card. He's got 2 crowd controls, the Log and the Fireball. And of course, he has his direct damage, the Fireball. So like I said, a lot of people use these strategies whether they know it or not, but they're definitely a big help if you start incorporating them into your game. I think right now with the deck that I'm currently showing you here, I'm rocking 5-0 on my Grand Challenge, which is pretty sweet. And I'm excited because as soon as I'm done with this one, I'm going to go try the Draft Challenge, which there's a whole other philosophy behind those ones. But I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something from it. Please feel free to comment, like and subscribe to the video. Rather, join us on our live streams, and I hope to see you around for the second video, level 2 deck building for experienced players.